There's a 19-year-old in a garage right now. Third broken bolt this week. Senior mechanic walks past, doesn't stop, just mutters loud enough for everyone to hear. Who gave this kid a wrench? The others laugh. Not cruelly, just automatically. He doesn't respond. He goes back to the bolt. Because what else is there to do? Nobody talks about how humiliating the beginning is. Not just hard, humiliating. You break a part that costs more than your day's wage and it comes out of your own pocket. You fix an oil leak and accidentally create a coolant problem. Customer calls back angry. Your boss looks at you in a way that doesn't need words. You go home. Grease in the creases of your knuckles that hot water won't reach. Family asks how your day was. You say, fine. Because how do you explain today you felt completely useless and tomorrow you have to go back and feel it again? Studies show nearly 40% of first-year tradespeople seriously consider quitting within 6 months. Not because the work is too physical, because the pressure of being a beginner, where every mistake is expensive and visible, slowly destroys something in a person. It destroys confidence at the root. And here's the part nobody says out loud. The ones who don't quit, something different starts happening to them. It starts small. One day you hear an engine idle and something in your brain registers, that's not right, before you consciously know why. You don't have the words yet, but the signal is there. This is not instinct. This is your brain doing something extraordinary. When you face the same problems repeatedly, especially under stress, especially when failure has a real cost, your brain begins encoding patterns below the level of conscious thought. It stops processing everything from scratch. It starts recognizing. Neuroscientists call this pattern compression. An experienced mechanic doesn't hear an engine the way you hear it. They hear it the way a musician hears a note played slightly flat, not a sound to analyze, a wrongness that registers instantly. They smell burning. They don't just think something is burning. They localize it. They match it against a mental library built from 100 previous failures. They feel a vibration through the steering wheel, and their hands send data to their brain that their brain already knows how to read. This is not school intelligence. This is adaptive expertise, built not through studying, but through surviving. In 1996, researchers studied chess grandmasters and discovered something that changed how we understand expert intelligence. When beginners saw a chessboard, they processed individual pieces, one by one. When grandmasters saw the same board, brain scans showed something completely different. They perceived entire configurations of it at once, whole patterns, instantly. Researchers call this chunking, the ability to compress complex information into single, recognizable units. And the only way to build it, years of high-stakes repetition. Mechanics do this with machines. A master mechanic walks into a bay, hears the car running, watches the idle, and in 15 seconds has already narrowed the problem to 2 or 3 possibilities. Not guessing, recognizing. They diagnose cars the way experienced doctors diagnose patients. And here's what people never consider. The difference between a doctor and a mechanic in terms of the intelligence required is mostly what kind of uniform the world gave them. There is a moment, different for every mechanic, but unmistakable when it comes. The moment when a problem arrives and you don't feel panic, you feel curiosity. The engine that would have destroyed your confidence 3 years ago now feels like a puzzle you genuinely want to solve. And then one day, without realizing it, you become the mechanic younger guys are afraid to disappoint. You walk into the garage and people move differently around you. Not because you're loud, not because you're intimidating, because competence has a presence to it. The same senior mechanic who once laughed at you now asks, "Can you take a look at this for a second?" And the strange part is, you barely notice when the shift happened. There was no movie moment, no dramatic transformation, no single day where you suddenly became confident. It happened quietly. One mistake at a time. One humiliation at a time. One exhausted drive home at a time. Your brain was changing while your confidence was still catching up. And that's the part people misunderstand about mastery. They think confidence comes first. It doesn't. Repetition comes first. Failure comes first. Embarrassment comes first. Confidence is usually just the scar tissue left after surviving all of it. A real mechanic knows exactly how many times they were wrong before they became useful, exactly how many bolts they snapped, how many nights they replayed mistakes in their head while trying to sleep, how many times they stood in a garage pretending not to care while feeling completely out of place. That's why experienced mechanics rarely mock beginners too hard, because somewhere in the back of their mind, they still remember being the kids silently staring at a broken bolt, wondering if they were built for this at all. And maybe that's what separates people who eventually become exceptional from people who stay average forever. Not talent, not genetics, not luck. The ability to tolerate being bad at something long enough for your brain to rewire itself. Because mastery is not built in moments where you look impressive. It's built in moments where you look incapable, but keep going anyway. Nobody claps for those moments. Nobody notices them. But those are the moments that actually change a person. Years later, people will look at your calm hands, the speed of your diagnosis, the confidence in your voice, and call it talent. What they won't see is the 19-year-old kid covered in grease, driving home in silence, wondering if he should quit tomorrow. They won't see the version of you that almost disappeared. They'll only see the version that survived.